Now let's go to doors. This particular shot was shot in a trailer. And so you can see some kind of something in the front of my lens. What that was some beading that was hanging over the door. And look at the catch light, right? You can see these small skinny strips as the catch light. What is that? That is the door that she's looking out of. So I put her in this position and I told her to look out the door because I knew that would give me an amazing catch light. In the next photo, you're gonna see the exact door that I was shooting through. Now, I know it's a different model, but that is the same door that I'm shooting through with the beads in front to that subject laying down on the bed. And so you can see that that door allowed that soft light to come in to give you some beautiful natural light. When I'm shooting a wedding, and especially the getting ready shots, and a lot of times the bride is, oh, can I get a picture with all my girls? Oh, sure. What do? I usually find a sliding door because that lets the most light in. I open up the curtains and I let that beautiful light come in through that door, lighting up my subjects. Now in this particular case, a lot of times when you're shooting a wedding, and especially you're shooting the getting ready area of the bride, it can be a complete mess. Just bags and purses and heels and flowers and everything all over the place. So what do? I shoot up towards the ceiling because I've got a clean background. So that's the technique that I use. It works every time. You can use it for bridesmaids, you can use it for groomsmen or a group of photo. Find the sliding door, open up all the curtains, and then shoot up. You're gonna get a clean background. It works 100% of the time. Here's another sliding door shot. I happen to be shooting a wedding in Beverly Hills, and I got this beautiful bride getting ready, and I say, hey, can you sit by the window here, nose towards the light, and why don't you pretend to reach down and put your shoe on? And I just captured this. This is right before we had to go to the ceremony, and I literally took this like in 30 seconds. Why? Because I knew where my natural light was and where I could get a great photo within seconds. Can you guess where I was on this next shot? There's probably some clues in there to tell you. Well, I was in Cuba, and in Cuba, a lot of times people just leave their doors open. So his door was open, and so we just went in there. Can I take a picture of you? And sure, he didn't care. What was he doing, right? It was a very, very, very small room, and I was like really pressed as far as I could against the wall using my 24mm lens. And do you think I have time and room to set up lighting? No way. So what did I use? The natural lighting. So that door was open, literally probably about 6 or 7 feet from where he is, coming in, allowing that light to give me some great side lighting. I'm gonna zoom in real close. Let's check out his eye and let's understand where that catch light in his eye came from. So as I zoom in, you can what? You can see me right dead in the middle of that eye, but also on his eye, you see a bright spot. What is that? That is the reflection of the floor. The sun was shining on the floor just outside his door, coming in through the doorway, lighting him up, giving me a great shot with natural light. You can also use doors not only outside, but inside. Now here I was in Los Angeles in this huge vintage antique place where you can, I think it's over, I think they said something like 100,000 square feet of antiques. It was huge. It was so big that they had these vintage trailers in here that they decked out all in the 50s and the 70s. And so we were able to do a shoot in here. So I sat the person in a darker area, right? I said, hey, sit down in this trailer. She's in a darker area and she's looking out into something and you can clearly see catch lights in her eyes. I'm going to zoom in on her eye and let's see what's creating that light. So you can see those little specks, and what those little specks are the huge fluorescent lights that are lighting that entire area, creating a catch light. Not only can you use doors outside, but you can also use them indoors. You just have to make sure that your subject is looking at some sort of brighter light source. And in this case, they were the fluorescent lights hanging on the wall. This is one of my favorite shots. It's a shot of a ballerina in Cuba sitting on some stairs. And look at the beautiful catch lights in her eyes. What was creating that? Well, I'm going to show you the next photo and you can see the exact scene. You can see that there was an open door. Again, you're in Cuba, just the doors are open to all these houses that you can just walk in and take some great portraits. I saw this area and go, oh, we got to get some portraits in this area. So that door was open. And so basically it is that light is coming in, hitting the ground and bouncing up, lighting my subject. And you can see that the catch lights are a little bit lower in her eye because it's the uplight created from that tiled flooring that is creating that catch light. You can also use two sources of light. You just don't have to rely on one source of light in your natural environment. You can use more than one light source. Now, let's go to this next photo. This photo was also taken in a trailer, a very small area. And you can see that she was lit up by a window, camera left, and there was also a door open that was camera right. So nose to the what? Light. So I had him look towards one light source, which was the door, and then she was actually lit by both light sources, two side lights. So if you examine the catch lights in her eyes, you can see that on her right eye, the catch light was from the window, and her left eye, the catch light was from the door. So there was two forms of lighting here, a window and a door, to create this great shot. Now, my next photo is in the exact same location, but it's with a wide angle lens, and you're gonna see the actual couch that they were sitting on, and it's not that big. I have a different subject there so you can see my lighting surroundings, right? There's a lot of open windows and there's a door giving me a studio type multi-lighting situation. So when you're shooting in natural light, you don't have to think, well, it's only one light source. No, it can be many light sources. You just have to be good at finding these different light sources, these multi-light sources in your environment. Okay, so that's showing how to use doors and windows for lighting.